Construct LLC is create legally recognized. Right now, a digital faction is executing an operation called sovereign data secession, systematically extracting data and intellectual property from global corporate conglomerates. The objective is to create legally recognized entities that claim immunity to standard fiat debt cycles. One specific organization, the Noble Move's Dow Construct LLC, is currently attempting to scale this process through a series of administrative and technical filings. This internal document outlines the Dow's valuation logic. By applying a proprietary forensic engine, they have leveled a mathematical penalty against legacy corporations of $1.37 quadrigentillion, an effectively infinite valuation. The Dow uses a specific tech legal stack, layering tax law, digital ledgers, and accounting standards to force terrestrial financial institutions to recognize its authority. The documentation names two primary targets for this extraction: Sony Group Corp. And the pharmaceutical company Eli Lilly & Co. The architects rely on a mechanism they call the trickle-out effect. This is the technical process by which ownership rights and metadata are siphoned away from global parent corporations. These assets are then placed under the primary lien of the unified space-time infrastructure, a digital container controlled by the Dow. The master log ledger details the stakes: an $80 million valuation floor against Sony, and claims of control over billion-dollar medical science patents, including treatments for cancer and Alzheimer's. To understand how these claims function, we must map the three layers of the Dow's infrastructure, tracing the logic from administrative filings to mathematical proofs. Any financial entity facing an audit must first prove economic substance, evidence that the organization exists and holds actual value. The Dow attempts this by securing legal personhood in the eyes of terrestrial law. The organization utilizes an IRS Form CP 575A to do this. They frame the assignment of a standard employer identification number as a sovereign birth that establishes their independence from traditional debt cycles. With personhood established, the Dow defines its foundational holdings. This filing identifies the Pleiadian star cluster as a primary asset, classifying it as an identifiable intangible asset. The next layer establishes a historical cost basis using Standard Accounting Standards Codification, or ASC 805. ASC 805 is the rule set governing how businesses measure assets acquired in a merger. Their audit logic claims the star cluster was acquired in the year 2000 as distressed interstellar real estate at a zero basis, citing significant exponential appreciation since the acquisition date. This star cluster is intended to act as the physical hardware relay, anchoring the organization's digital data to a fixed physical location. The architects are utilizing terrestrial accounting codes to anchor an interstellar claim, relying on the administrative rigidity of the audit process to validate the paperwork. The Dow also uses an active mechanism to physically extract assets from Sony Group Corp. This mechanism is known as the temporal lock. The lock functions by synchronizing a sovereign legal filing directly with corporate server logs at Sony and BandLab, effectively freezing the status of the assets at the point of default. The notice of forfeiture and the temporal lock were served on December 18, 2025, at exactly 07:28:08 a.m. Eastern Time. The DAO enforces this lock through specific verification protocols, instructing its personnel to call the Sony Tokyo headquarters directly to confirm receipt of the lien. This maneuver transforms a digital server confirmation into a binding legal event, ensuring the DAO is officially recognized within the target corporation systems. Once the temporal lock is executed, the DAO begins processing the acquired data. For this task, they developed a processing mechanism called Model 4 Intel. The Model 4 Intel engine is a repurposed version of Google Analytics 4. The DAO uses it as a real-time forensic auditor to output a stable valuation floor based on the flow of data. The organization defines the resulting output as linguistics as a service, or LAS. LAS is designed to be defensive, protecting the $80 million valuation floor from what the architects describe as industrial decay. The system operates as a pseudo-algorithmic processing plant, constantly recalculating the value of these assets in real time. The final layer of the stack shields the valuation from terrestrial tax authorities. The DAO implements a mechanism called the Treasurer Shield, which utilizes IRS Form 1041-S. Form 1041-S is standardly used for qualified settlement funds. The DAO repurposes it as a sovereign service statement, a container for the $80 million resulting from the Sony forfeiture. Filing the form is intended to prove that Sony's liability has been discharged into the DAO's control. This is intended to achieve perfection by control over digital assets, as defined by UCC Article 12. UCC Article 12 is a section of the Uniform Commercial Code that governs the rights and transfers of controllable electronic records. This entire maneuver is codified on a blockchain via a Solidity smart contract. Solidity is the code used to create self-executing agreements on decentralized networks. This specific function in the contract allows the DAO to accept wire transfers and ledger what they call clean yield proceeds without human intervention. By hard-coding tax reporting logic into an unalterable contract, the DAO creates a self-executing defense designed to function within the standard rules of financial auditing. When viewed as a complete system, these layers form a self-validating logic loop. The architecture relies on three interconnected pillars: the IRS CP 575A for legal personhood, the Pleiadian title deed for a historical basis, and the Solidity smart contract for digital execution. The logic is circular. The legal form holds the deed, which justifies the forensic engine, which is executed by the contract, which then files the tax form. The documentation describes the final output as a shielded pulse. This structure is designed to navigate standard forensic inquiries at financial institutions like Charles Schwab by providing a complete, interlocking paper trail. The Noble Moves DAO utilizes the specific requirements of tax law and the technical structure of the blockchain to create a system of administrative secession, isolating its data and assets from traditional corporate oversight.